Did you know that people who consciously count their blessings tend to be happier and less depressed? What if I gave you a permission slip that said, your job is to feel good? And what if I told you that the better you feel, the bigger impact you can make in the world? And in fact, that is the magical parenting strategy that we've all been searching for. Hey, I'm Heather Chauvin, wife, mother of 3 boys, former social worker, breadwinner, recovering hustler, and stage 4 cancer survivor. Beyond all of these titles and labels, I'm a human being just like you, attempting to navigate it all while feeling good. My goal on this show is to show you that you can live an energized, sustainable life both at home and at work. My attempt is to keep it real with stories, interviews, and random thoughts. This is not a business or career podcast, and it's not a parenting podcast. It's both and so much more. You will laugh, you will cry, and you may even get a little frustrated with the truth you've been hiding from yourself. I believe all human behavior is a language, whether it's through your children, your health, or your relationships. And when you learn to listen instead of react, we begin to understand what it truly means to feel alive and in control. It's time to ditch self-sacrifice and step into your brave zone. Hey ladies, you have all heard it before. The practice of gratitude. Well, I have something for you, and I have a really interesting conversation today. But before we get into it, I want to talk about this Pay It Forward gratitude gift giving campaign that I'm doing. So my book is coming out in March of 2021, and it is not yet available for pre-order. But I wanted to get the word out, and I also wanted to make an impact. So I asked myself, how can I do this in a cost-effective way where women can help women? In this year of COVID, the pandemic, elections, social justice, uprise, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty. And people are always saying, what can I do? With a holiday season that is going to be different than any other that you've ever experienced, I thought, what better way than to gift something that is priceless? So if you go to my name, heatherchauvin.com, you can actually see it on the top bar. It talks about the Pay It Forward gratitude gift, or go directly to heatherchauvin.com/pay it forward. heatherchauvin.com/pay it forward, or find me on Instagram or somewhere. It's all over the place. So my last name is spelled CHAUVIN. So heatherchauvin.com/pay it forward. And the idea is that starting this Friday, on Black Friday, December 27th, I believe it's December 27th. Yes, it is. December 27th to December 4th. So we're just opening it for a short period of time. I may extend it, but my goal is to sell a minimum of 500 of these gratitude gifts. So what you do is you pay $15 if it's within Canada or United States. You pay $20 because of shipping, and it can go anywhere in the world. And you put in the mailing address of the person you want to send it to. You type in the message. We even have options where you can check one off. And it is handwritten. So I got a whole bunch of volunteers, and we're going to be handwriting these beautiful postcards. And if you go to the website, you're going to see what they look like. Amazing quality. And they're also going to get a limited edition bookmark that says "Become the Leader of Your Life." And guess what? Guess what's in it for you? We are also gifting or donating a portion of the proceeds of every gift to a local women's addiction treatment facility. And I'm going to be interviewing the executive director in a few days. So for $15, not only can you give a woman a message and let her know the positive influence and impact that she has made on your life, it's raising your vibration. And when you're giving, we're lifting, we're rising each other up. On the inside, excuse me, once you purchase your gratitude gift, you're going to be sent to a thank you page. You will also have access to a private, exclusive Facebook group community. I'm going to be going live in there. I'm going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be talking about my book writing process. I'm going to be helping you thrive through the holidays. We're going to make magical shit happen in that private Facebook group. And last bonus for you. When you also purchase one of these, because I am so incredibly grateful for you as a podcast listener, as an avid community member, as a cheerleader of my work, you're part of my community and I really appreciate you. I'm going to give you an instant download of my intro and chapter 1 of my book. Yes, you heard me correctly. So head on over to heatherchauvin.com/payitforward. I really, really appreciate you. You have no idea how grateful I am for you. And just know that when you purchase this and you're gifting it to someone else, you're also making an impact for women who are struggling right now. So it goes a long way, and we never truly understand the butterfly and ripple effect that we have. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And today's conversation is with 3 amazing women. And I wanted to share this conversation, especially today, because it's going out on the American Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, all you Americans. I am not American. I live in Canada. We celebrated ours in October. So we have Kathy Heller. She is the founder of Don't Keep Your Day Job. We have Heidi Stevens. She is an amazing, powerful coach. And we also have Amber Lillystrom. And all of these women have podcasts of their own. You could Google them. You can find them. But more importantly, I wanted to share this conversation with you because the 4 of us went live for an hour and a half, and we cried, we laughed, we giggled, but we talked about the power of community. We also talked about some really vulnerable stuff about how we have been hurt by women before and how to just navigate those really uncomfortable conversations, and we pull back the layers. So I hope this gives you some grace. I hope this gives you some insight. I hope this really helps you understand that when we can move our energy into a place of gratitude, right? Even if it's somebody who's really hurt us, what if they gifted us, and how can we turn this around? Because women who rise are going to change the world. So together, ladies, let's make magical shit happen. Let's dive in.
So, this is so fun. So these girls that you see on the screen, this is like part of my, these are part of what holds me up in the world is these souls right here. And we get to meet every week on Zoom. We spend two and a half hours together, just kind of talking about what's going on. And I think it's really important to have people in your life who see you and who hold a vibration for you to just come home to yourself. And so we wanted to show up today. So if for some reason, one of us or 2 of us or whatever it is, I thought that maybe I could start by calling on each of these beautiful women to say hello and maybe share one thing that's really on your heart, like one headline that is coming up for you as, for some reason in this moment, the thing that I keep feeling like I want to share with the world is. So Heidi, since you're like nodding your head, and because I've been on the behind the scenes, she's been on fire the last week. Why don't you introduce yourself for a second and then share what's been on your heart lately?
Sure. Hi, my loves. It's so nice to be with you all. And of course, Kathy, thank you for putting this together. And Amber and Heather, you guys, I am first and foremost, I'm a mom of 2. I live in LA. I'm a wife. I love more than anything bringing women together in community. This is like my heart and my soul. and I coach and I do programs. And I do all the things on manifesting and living a more soulful, empowered life. And Kathy and I just got back from a week-long experience in Florida studying with Joe Dispenza. And my goodness, I feel like I have been liberated on just a whole new level. And what is just so on my heart, I want to like shout it from the rooftops, is we get to experience more joy and more play and more fun. And this is a heavy season, right? There's a lot of angst and anxiety in the world. And when we are able to detach from that and just like be ourselves, it's like we give permission. We just get to sparkle and be lights for everyone else too. And so I've just been like dancing and like being in the joy of my life. And I realized that I have been holding myself back from being me and thinking I need to kind of dim and play a smaller game, and in fear that like I would trigger people or that it wouldn't like be okay. And I'm just like, no. Me being in my joy gives permission for everyone else to be in their joy. So as we go into this season of holidays and families, there's a lot there, and I'm just gonna like be in my aligned self.
I love you so much. I love you so much. It's so easy to love you. You are so scrumptious. And I got to just be with you for 6 days. And it was such a gift. And what I want you all to hear right now is that we are all in this exact same challenge of finding our edge and giving ourselves permission to use the word that Heidi used, which is to liberate ourselves. And so please receive that at every level. A friend of mine says new level, new devil, which like, I don't believe in a devil or anything like that with those words, but don't think that just because a person has achieved a certain paradigm up level, that they're not still wrestling with this shadow side. And so what I love about these women in particular is we're so willing to just be vulnerable and say, here's what's going on with me. So it's not look at me, it's can you come with me? Can we cross this ocean hand in hand? What could we do together? And I love that you started with, we get to have more joy, you guys. We get to give ourselves permission. And Heidi was talking about not dimming her light. Type a 1 in the chat if you would raise your hand and relate to ever considering dimming your light because it might shine too bright in someone else's eyes.
Do we get to yeah.
So I'm circling over to you now, Heather, and I'm glad that you piped in. So Heather, tell us a little bit about you. And by the way, all these women have been on my show, so you can hear that back story, but we wanted to revisit because they're such a big part of my life. But Heather, tell us a little bit about what's you, just a quick intro, quick, because there's so much to you, just a quick one. And then what's on your heart and what do you have to say as it relates to what we're talking about right now?
Well, I want to thank you. And even that dimming your light, I find is so energetically manipulative sometimes because you're doing the work and you're still finding it, which is why I think community is so, so important. So I'm Heather Chauvin, the founder of the podcast Mom is in Control. New book coming out in March, Dying to be a Good Mother. And I really support women in motherhood. I just want to be a stand for revolutionizing the conversation around motherhood, that we can, how good can it get? I actually believe the more alive you become, the bigger, that's exactly what the world needs, the bigger impact you can make. And whether you are drawn to making an impact in your home, which I think everything starts at home, it's so, so, so important. Or if you feel like making a bigger impact in the world, like bigger community, it doesn't matter. It's all big. And I think the second you consciously choose to step into that, everything comes up. Right. But as Heidi just said, and all of you ladies, like this is what we represent. But yet the shadow side of that is fear, doubt, worry, anxiety. What if, all of these things are, I'm okay, or I don't know what I want, or I'm good. Like I don't need any more. And I truly believe that if a desire is put inside of you, it is supposed to be birthed. It is supposed to come out into the world. And when you're doing that, there's contractions and there's moments of why am I doing this? Staying, pinging off of Heidi, staying lit, like letting, taking the lampshade off, like just letting yourself go out there and being like, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is what I represent. You will have people constantly that are like, don't do that. Dim your light. Be quote unquote normal. Why do you want to do that? And they will constantly question you. And I get this every single day. But most of the time I'm hearing those voices within myself, and I have to, that's why I'm a huge, fan of journaling and silence and just sitting with yourself and saying, what is my truth? What do I want to honor today? Who do I want to be? And how can I step into that energy? Because I think leadership, a lot of women do not identify as leaders. They're like, I'm not a leader. Like, I'm not, in this big company, or I'm not. And if you are, but listen, we are leading every day. The impact you make when you grab a coffee, the impact you make, how you answer an email, answer a text message, what's the energy behind it? And you can have your off days, but you can consciously choose to be brighter and brighter and brighter. And doing that involves looking at your fear, looking at your resistance, looking at those that are saying, no, don't. The world needs you. I don't know if what else we need as evidence that the world needs women to show up in bigger ways. And we don't need to harm ourselves to do that. We don't need to burn out to do that. We can do it at our slow and steady, intentional pace.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I feel like one thing that it just reminds me of as I have such an honor talking to so many people, as you guys do too. And one of the biggest consistencies is there's a struggle around the worthiness to receive so much. And coming home from this Joe Dispenza event, he said so many mic drops, but one of them was like, what greater ambition is there than to emulate the divine? And when you allow that light to shine from you, it's like, what would love do? And love doesn't cut itself off from more love. And it doesn't feel not worthy. It feels like the more love I have, what do I want to do? Just share it with somebody else. And as women, we have this incredible ability to write the stars, because we've been gifted with this literal anatomy and physiology of really knowing how to receive and take something and turn it into something else. And when we do this thing where it's like, it's okay, I won't ask, I won't receive, we're really keeping the collective down. And the more we realize we are a collective, it's like the rising tide lifts all these boats. You can't separate this part of the ocean. Oh, but it's different from this part. It's like, we really are in this wave. So we should think like, what do we want for other people to receive? And I was saying this earlier, like, if this was your girlfriend and she needed something, like, you would move a mountain to get to her. You would literally move a mountain to show up for her that night when she goes through a breakup, or the day she's celebrating because she found out she has a positive pregnancy test and she's had so many failed ones, or the day she gets her book published, or whatever. You would move heaven and earth to be there with her in that space. And yet we really don't give that to ourselves. So how does that then translate and metabolize to the collective? So I keep coming back to, how do we need to rise? Where's that frequency of rising in us? And how is that actually what we need to do for everybody in our life who we want to hold space for? So Amber, you're so gifted at this exact topic. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and how you relate to what we're talking about.
Thanks, Kath. I love you guys. It's like so perfectly
ding, ding, ding. It was when Heather was speaking, I said, I think I want to talk about receiving. And then Kathy just talks about receiving, and it's all just so perfectly orchestrated. And I think, to answer your question, what am I really focusing on or sort of dialing in on right now? I will say that this group has given me such a gift in the direction of receiving and feeling courageous enough to be authentically me and not show up in sort of an edited format or fashion in order to feel like I'm worthy of the group that I was invited to be a part of, right? Like, we do this so much. And I was talking about this in my program, my group training this morning, about how people pleasing, and Heather, you just touched on this, is like manipulation. And it's this distortion of self that we were trained to believe we have to step into in order to be accepted. And also say simultaneously, I feel so loved and supported in this group. And I was just like kicked out of another one. So it's just this funny juxtaposition of the evolution that we go through in our own personal evolution projects and our own depth of understanding self, and how you cannot stay where you are no longer welcome. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in the universe is like, level up, sis. Like, let's go. Q Ciara, like, let's level it up. You're being asked to step in at the level at which your work in the world is at, where your soul is at. Soul and chronological age are not the same thing. Like, bring it, sis. And you have big work here, and there are things you need to talk about, and trying to be cute and fit the mold and match what other people are doing and all that jazz it's not going to work. And so the more I sink into just being myself, the easier my life gets and the more joyful it is. Yet I'm also able to see in bright lights the places where I'm addicted to belonging. I'm addicted to feeling edified. I'm addicted to whatever. And I have to look at that. I can't just bypass it. I gotta look at it. I gotta own it. I gotta name it. I gotta release it. I gotta go through it. Right. It's like that book that we read our kids, the bear hunt one. It's like, you can't go over it. You can't go under it. Got to go through it. You guys know which one I'm talking about. And how many times do we repeat that same freaking line in that book to remind us that that's how it works? We have to go through it. And so journeying with each of you here, in the most sacred, holy of ways, like the things we're able to put on the table. I mean, it's like soul church, and I'm so grateful for it, because I'm just like in my little bubble, I'm like watching a hawk while you guys were talking. I'm like, oh, of course we have a hawk right now. Like I'm just my little self over here, and I'm very content with the life that I've created. I'm really happy about that. But sometimes I can make that an excuse to not like get in the stream and not show up and not put the work and not put it out there. And I think that's something I'm looking at within myself. Like, what is that? What's that about? Like giving ourselves the opportunity to ask these deep questions and not beat ourselves up for it, not make myself wrong for it, not villainize myself, but just go, isn't that curious? What's that about? And having enough space to hit the pause to go, oh, fascinating. Look at these treasures that I'm finding along the way. Isn't that interesting that it looks like this on one side, but when I'm patient enough to wait for it, I can get to the other side and see that this is actually what we're talking about here. Like, isn't that a beautiful thing? And so I feel like that's where I'm at. I think like try softer is my mantra right now, like over and over again. Just try softer, like relax. Everything's okay. Your nervous system is allowed to like relax, like like you're safe, you can share your heart. I'm just doing that, and you all help with that in such beautiful ways, and by just getting to see you do that yourself. So yeah, I'm writing, I'm podcasting, I'm coaching, I'm loving on my peeps. We're launching, I'm loving. We're also in a process of fertility stuff right now too. So I want to be the egg. Like I want to receive. I remind myself of that. Kate Northrup always talks like, be the egg. Like, okay, let's just receive. Like, let's just get into the space of receiving and loving and giving. And that's the place that I'm spending my time and focus right now. It's so beautiful. And as a jumping off point, I want to sort of hit on a couple topics, and then we can sort of go to you guys and ask you in the chat, like what would really feel supportive in terms of things that we could just kind of riff on. But the first thing that I feel like will unite us, I think all of the people who found this, whether you found it through Heidi, Heather, Amber, or me, you are people who want to make an impact in the world, and it's coming to the end of a year, and you had big dreams for this year, and you have big dreams for next year. And the question that comes up is, those, like Pink says, Greatest Showman cover song, "A million dreams are keeping me awake." You're like, how do I make those things happen? And it feels sometimes like it's so far away. And so I thought we could all maybe touch on, what do we feel we've learned about the art of making things come true, co-creating, manifesting, however you want to say it, seeing things come into fruition. I know that for me, I'm really, really dropping into that lately from a standpoint of fully getting that every time something has happened in my life that felt completely serendipitous and magical, it kind of flowed into me, and I just kind of caught it at the end of the river, like, oh, look what's here, like Moses is like taking him out of the river. He literally flowed right into the gates of the princesses, like right there. But like, that is the ultimate receivership, right? It's like just aligning with that magic. So how do we do that? Well, I've come to believe and see and feel, most significantly, that we are always trying. And I'm almost so over hearing people even say, I'm trying to start a podcast, I'm trying to start a business, I'm trying to get pregnant, I'm trying to do that. It's like, there's no try, you just are. I wouldn't even say there's no try, you just do. No. You just are. And when you just are, the trick to it is opening your heart, and opening your heart all the way, which means it's open to receiving it, which means the biggest leap you ever make to cross this river of change is I'm worthy of having this incredible gift. And so I know that we've all attempted, tried, spent time doing lots of things to get the guy, to make the million, to bring in the visibility audience. And how's that working out? And what if we played a little experiment with the universe where we deeply opened our heart to receive that which is the highest frequency? And what if we just kept sinking into that vibration, or rising to that vibration, whatever feels like the right way to say it for you? Imagine if that's that door. It's right there. So then what? Right? Then what? And it's so amazing what we do when we step into that. We just declare to the world and to ourselves and to everything in our vibration, like, this is just what's so. And I know that sounds insane, but you've done it already so many times. How do you think you met that best friend? How do you think you wound up in that cute house? How do you think you wound up, whatever, wearing that perfect dress on that perfect occasion? So Heidi, I know that you're like so in the zone with this right now. So I just want to hear what you have to say about manifesting your epic life.
Let's have Heather or Amber just talk. I'm gonna give myself one moment here just to
deal with childcare.
Real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Kathy, what I kept hearing you say is just like dropping the try.
Yeah.
Like dropping the try. I am trying. It's I am. You're already doing it. Mm-hmm. We expect, we know the sun is going to come up tomorrow. We know the sun is going to set. We don't judge it. We expect it. So why are we not expecting these things for ourselves, right? I am doing the thing. I am it. Like, it took me forever to accept I am an author. Like, stop. Stop saying you're not. Well, I don't identify as a writer, but you wrote a book. Like, why? I am. And so I think we don't realize the more harm that it does, the blockage that is there. And then that's where the addiction to struggle comes in. That is where, the self-fulfilling prophecy of like, okay, good. Yep. Okay. The block's there. It's in position. All right. Now I could just, oh yeah. Oh, good. I was just speaking with someone this morning. She said, Heather, when I first met you, if it wasn't hard or I wasn't suffering, it wasn't good enough. And I'm like, but even at that moment, was it? She's like, no, then I would have to get fatigued and then sleep or take a break. And my body had to give out in order for me to stop. And why? That I'm just always questioning why. Loving asking myself, how good can it get? But you just reminded me, because it's tricky. You reminded me about the try, just dropping the try.
Yeah. And on that point, I want to comment on some of the comments because it's like, oh, I'm trying to get in that high vibration. I really just want to say, you are already there. It is the most familiar, unfamiliar. It's like when you're trying to fall asleep and all of a sudden you're like, wait, am I going to fall asleep tonight? It's like when you're breathing and you go, can I breathe? And then you think you can't breathe. You know how to breathe. You know how to be your soul. You know how to be connected.
In it. She's revved up now.
But what I want to say is that just this last thing is that what I think comes in to take you out of what you just know, which is the most pure version of you being in yourself, is the shame that comes with, I know that, but then all of a sudden I think for me to proclaim that that I am a mother or I am an author or I am a potter or whatever I am, that I just know I am, I think what comes with that is this need to do it perfectly or take care of somebody else's needs to this extent or that extent. And there's a shame. And what if I don't do it perfectly? And what if I don't get somebody else results? And again, that's back in the polarization. That's back in the separateness. And the truth of the truth is that every human I've ever met, the reason that A, it's none of your business. And B, just that resonance is what people want to curl up right next to. And that will give life to people that loves other people, right? Into their life, into their feeling of themselves. And so this shame has just got to go. And I just see it everywhere. Like I couldn't proclaim or receive it because I'm not worthy of it. I'm not as good as this one, that one, the other. And I really think we don't get what we really give. What you really give is you in your generous, yummy state when you're vibrating and enjoying. That's it. That's what people want to be around. Everything else that might come is gravy. It really, really is. All right, Heidi, what now?
I mean, I don't know. I could talk about this for hours, right?
I want to hear it.
We just sit here for hours and dive so deep in this conversation. And I just love so much of what you said. That heart expansion and that just like, Joe Dispenza says, like, if the thought says the signal out, the heart then receives it. And it's like, there's this, we've all just been so conditioned that it needs to be so much harder than we're making it. When, for those of us that are mothers, you watch this baby come in and they're perfection. They are pure perfection. And there is no veil between them and their higher power, God, source, universe, whatever it is that you want to call it. And we forget over time, and there's layers and conditions and trauma and stories and family, and everyone on whatever level is doing their best, right? And yet we're just compounded. And so really this journey is one of coming home and just the deconstruction and the like letting go of the layers. And the reality is that it's vulnerable because we might get hurt in letting those layers down and opening our heart and choosing love and sharing our joy and feeling free and wanting to connect and wanting intimacy. And so as little kids, we learn like, oh, this is the way to get love. And this is the way I'm going to put this layer on. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to try this and I'm going to be number one. And I'm going to do all these things to get love when really it's like the relaxing into, and that's my personal journey as like former, I often say like I'm a recovering perfectionist and straight A student. And for me to just learn how to relax into the loving that I am, and to know that I don't have to perform or be number one or be perfect, that I get just to show up in my joy and my lightness and all of that and be with you all, and that's enough. Like, that is enough. And I have to tell myself that a lot. I have to, like, when I start going into that, I've got to do this and the to-do list, and I've got all these ideas, and that's the only way I'm going to get my needs met. And that's the only way, like, just the exhale. And so, like, Heather, it's like that quietness. Like, I choose to create sacred time for myself. For me, it's in the mornings, it's dark, it's before my kids wake up, to remember that, to come home, to connect with divine oneness. And I often share, it's like, I'll never forget, 15 years ago, sitting in that meditation, I could not close my eyes for more than 1 minute. 1 minute was like all I could close my eyes for, and today, like, having these like blissed out 90-minute meditations, just dancing with the divine and blah, 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 whatever. It's like, it's a practice that's become habitual to tell myself, I can create from source energy. Yes, it is a frequency. When I look at my life and everything I've created, there's been so much that I've done the hard way, like pounding the pavement and the grit and the working hard and the 100 cold calls a day and the launches and the this and the that. And yet when I look at the things that have truly have brought me the most joy, whether it's my husband, my children, like this home, there is such a relaxing into and such a surrender. And I think it's one of these things that when people talk about manifesting or making things happen, there's these paradoxes, like in the manifesting world. It's like, get clear on where you're going and vision it every single day, but also surrender and let it go, right? It's like, well, what do I do? It's somewhere in that like divine, like, we're complex beings and we can hold both at once. And we really can. Like, you can feel angry and you can be pissed off, and you can also feel a tremendous amount of loving and openness all at the same time. So, if it was easy, everyone would be on this path. I salute every single woman on here just to be open to being on a spiritual journey and path. And I think that the four of us, that's what we find and we see in each other. And it's not every day that you find soul sisters. So when you find them, you connect and you get in that community and you remind yourselves that this is not a path for the faint of heart, but by God, the freedom on the other side and that liberation, it is so worth it. So worth getting up at 5 a.m. for. So it's so beautiful. I just wanted to say that James Wedmore, I was talking to him, and I think when he was on my podcast, I said to him, so people want to know, like, which strategy is it? Is it YouTube channel, email list, Instagram, like, what's the strategy so I can build my million? And he's like, you could use any one of them. Okay. It's what's in it, right? Like, when you click on the email to that beautiful funnel that you made, when you click on the Instagram, when you go to the person, what's the energy that's being exchanged between that person and the reader and the viewer? Hello. So, like, as woo-woo as this sounds, like, let's be clear. Like, it is, we are not logical. We are biological. We are feeling oxytocin, dopamine, cortisol. We are literally feeling beings, and it is a boomerang. And so it's so true, Heidi. It's like every time you're like, but the how, but the why, none of our business, none of your business. Your business is what just for whatever reason feels like it lights me up and feels like it's pushing me out of my comfort zone. That's my work today. I'm looking for that spot where my comfort zone moves up an inch and I'm going to feel excited. And I just know that's the clue. I'm looking for it every day. I go toward it. Boom, this thing happens. Boom, that thing happens. I love when people say to me, oh, my dream was being a podcaster. I'm like, really? That's your purpose? It didn't exist 30 years ago. Like, what are we talking about? Like, you will flow toward the things will be coming to you and you'll be coming to, right? What you seek is seeking you, whatever it's meant to be. So it doesn't matter. You could think that the highest branch you could see is being X. And as you're on the way toward that,
oh, you get pulled into this. Next thing you know, you're teaching whitewater rafting in Colorado, and that leads you to this, which leads you to meet this person, which leads you down to Peru, which leads you to start doing some weaving. Let it work for you. Stop working so hard. Stop earning it so much. And I just want to say, I said this the other day to my class, and I put a piece of it on Instagram because I like literally broke down into tears, because I did just come back from a 6-day meditation. And I said to my friends, I know too much to go back. Yeah. And there is a part of me that it's so addicted to that trauma, that suffering, because it keeps me safe, or so I think. And I believe that if I can stay where I've learned to be good, where I've learned to protect myself by, I'll set myself on fire so that you're warm, all these, whatever my crap is, I just wanted to honor that there's a little kid in there who was so damn brave and so darn smart, who literally created a way to survive. And now you're starting to glean that it's hurting you. And to be really real about it, it hurts so much to let that go. And yet, you know that you need to. And so I just wanted to have compassion, because there are areas in my life where I can feel what the feeling of that future feels like. And yet I know what it's going to cost me to stop protecting myself and call it in. And it is a struggle.
What if our trauma keeps us significant in ways that our souls are even more significant than? And so,
what a big idea you just said.
Say it again.
Our trauma, what if our trauma keeps us significant, right? It's keeping us significant. We have that story, we're significant. But what if our souls are even more significant than that trauma? Like, what if we get in the wave and the stream of what our soul is here for, instead of staying small in the container, the stifling container of our trauma? What if we did that? What if we recognized that stream and that, what the experience that you both had, and Kathy, what you just said there, and I share from the near-death experience that I had, and Heather, you've certainly had your own. Also, in your story, it's like what you see there, you can't unknow. Like that feeling, that sensation of that just infinite, just beyond words, going there is so much more significant than the painful things that have happened to me. I can transcend all of it when I'm plugged into the truth of what I know from that experience, and I cannot ever forget it. I cannot unknow it. And so suddenly it's like, when I remember that, like the number of followers that I have, or like how my funnel works, just seems pretty trivial in the big picture. You know, it's like, I mean, geez Louise, like I
forgot a period.
God, I was a typo. Oh, wait,
you are a failure.
F name. Like, oh, geez, I sent it out with the F for F name. I forgot. Okay, whatever. Like, who effing cares? Like, you're here for a reason. If the dream is in you, it's for you. Like, hello, guys, girls, friends.
People aren't buying how pretty your website is. So stop pretending you need one of those before you start.
You don't even need one if you're like really out there doing the thing. Websites are great. Like I'm a brand, like have an awesome website so people can like get you, because they're going to Google you. But if you're lit, your soul's on fire, people hear you. It doesn't matter where they hear you from. They could like hear you as a guest on somebody's podcast. They are going to track you down and find you if you are brave enough to be all of who you are.
I think it's also important to remind all of us that it's never the thing that we're going for. It's said feeling that we think the thing is going to bring us home. Yes. And truly that is available in this moment right here and right now. And when you talk about calling it in, the more you spend time in that frequency, like we're all talking about, the more you're like, I'm just going to sit here in feeling abundant and feeling free.
Yeah.
And what if I showed up to my day, and what if I wrote that email, and what if I did my post and my live as if I had already accomplished said thing? How would I show up differently? I wouldn't be scared to reach out for that partnership or that collaboration. I would know that it is such a gift that they like need me on that thing.
I want to do something really brave. I just feel called to do it. And I think it's something that only we would do, which
I was
is...
going to say, are we keeping our clothes on?
Heather.
I know. I just need to throw in appropriate things here and there.
Exciting.
Heather would go there.
I was going to say that I think it would be really mystical and next level if each of us did what we do on every call right now for a minute, which is to share what we're struggling with and let people see it and share how we help each other. Because I think that which is personal is universal. And I think each of these 4 quadrants on this call probably represent what a section of these beautiful souls might say, me too. I was even just thinking how, wow, I remember there being times where before I would go to Heidi's house, I would try to like be a certain way so that I would be who she wanted me to be, because I had just met her and I was like intimidated by her. And I remember then we went after a year with this particular group of girls, we all went away and we went to Ojai, and I kept saying, I might not be able to go. And it was that I didn't know if I could hold who I was pretending to be for 2 days. So I didn't know how I could be there for 2 days because I wanted to be who they wanted me to be. And I thought that was a lot of pressure. And then she said, I'm going to call you out. You don't have an excuse. You're coming. We want you to be with us. You're coming. And they didn't know any of that, what I just said. She probably is just hearing that for the first time right now. And I drove there, and the drive to Ojai was like an hour and 40 minutes. And it was the first hour and 40 minutes as a working mom and a mom of 3 that I had by myself in a long time. And I listened to the Indigo Girls and every album I loved. And I cried my eyes out to Sean Colvin and Dear Evan Hansen. And when I got to that house, I was the most me and the least version of the girl I was pretending to be. And I had no makeup on, and I walked in and I said, oh boy. And Heidi goes, you look so beautiful. What did you do in that car ride? I said, I just cried the whole way here. She's like, oh my God, whatever this is. And I'm like, I didn't want you to see it. And then we spent 2 days and we were all in that place. And we couldn't stop talking, the 6 of us. And I had the exact same experience in different form with you, Amber. I was so intimidated by you. It was like, she has 5 times as many followers as I do. She's so radiant. She knows how to like be authentic in front of that many people. So she's both really cool, deep. And then with you, Heather, it was the same thing. We're like, we went on Zoom a couple times, and then you were like giving to me and being so generous. And I was like, I have to like give her 3. And I was like, what? And then you actually called me out on it. You're like, can you not do that? I don't know why you're doing that. I loved that we got to do that. And I was like, and I guess what I learned from all 3 of you, which is a micro of the macro for me, is Kathy, get to be loved. And then not only do you get this awesome new friend, but the things that come of it, the conversations and the way that then reverberates between the 2 of you, and then you both grow. Like, Heidi, how much have we both grown from our friendship?
It's incredible.
Same with all of us, right? And then what things have happened. And now it's like, I look back at that. I didn't know I was going to share that, but I just want to be totally honest. Like, what we are telling you that we've been trying to put together clues along the way, we're completely in it. And so would one of you maybe want to share in this moment? And then we could go back. I could share whatever's new for me, but I wanted to just open with that because it was just felt like it was coming through. Do you want to be honest and share right now how we've been supporting you or something that's still coming up and rearing its head? Because I think when people see people like us, oh, she's already making this much money. Oh, she's struggling with that dragon still. He's coming out there. She's facing off with him. I just want to give you the
go.
Okay.
Because after I go, I may have to run to the ladies' room for a moment. So if I exit the room and come back, I've been drinking lots of water. Almost had my gallon today. I could feel myself retreating because I was like, why am I special enough to be in that room, in that group? This is my constant challenge, the dimming of my light. And it is so comfortable for me to believe that I do not have a sense of purpose or worth, not only on the planet, but just like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Constant variation of that. The effort to, once you start gaining momentum of that, but my own personal challenge, especially with more visibility around the corner coming out, I see how I just want to hide and go in my shell. For you, Kathy, it's interesting because, you know, what you were like intimidated by, or like I was giving to you, I was feeling the exact same thing from you. I was like, I'm not worthy of receiving this. Like, what? Well, I need to give it back. Like, it's just, you know, we just have so much love we want to give to each other. And it was so uncomfortable for me to receive that. Heidi, oh my gosh, your ball of like energy, and you're just you can connect so easily. And I was intimidated. Like, she doesn't want to be my friend. I'm gonna say something inappropriate. She's gonna run away. And we connect so well. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And Amber and I connected actually a really long time ago. And again, same thing. And it was probably, I know Kathy mentioned something about when you and I connected, you were just getting started. And then recircling back, I'm like, oh, she's way above me. Like she's way ahead now. Like I'm like low. Isn't it weird how we're ranking ourselves? Like I'm down here, she's up here. So she's not even going to want to have a conversation with me anymore. And then I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, your heart's still beating. Your blood's still pumping the same. Like you haven't changed. You're still the same magical soul. Oh, you know, we had a conversation then, we can still talk now. Like, it's just so mind blowing to me. That's how I felt with all of you. But again, it's the vulnerability of stepping into my truth. Like, I feel it coming. I keep going more in the direction of like those taps and those voices. And the closer I get to it, the more, I don't even want to call it scared anymore. It's because you can shift it into exhilaration, but I feel the resistance coming up. And that's really my own personal challenge because I know what to do. I know how to create space for it. I know who I need to ask for help. And it's just stopping to say, realign, realign, realign. And I have to do that 1,000,000 times a day. And I will tell you, I cannot do that alone. And for any woman that believes that she has to go at this alone, I'm just like, stop. It's okay. Like, just put down the armor, like come out from what you're hiding from and just say, I'm fucking struggling. I can't figure this out. I don't know where to turn. Like, just ask, because that's where the magic happens. Because there's so many people there just waiting for you to say, please help. Please help. So got to practice what I preach, but yeah, it's a challenge.
It's so beautiful. Do one of you want to share?
Yeah, I want to also just take a moment because I've had the gift of getting to read Heather's book before it's out into the world. And it's so good, you guys. So Heather, whenever that is available for everybody here, it's just, you're such an incredible storyteller and you're so raw and real in it. And it's just like, yeah. And I already got to have you on my podcast to really dive into it, but I'm just such a fan and I'm so excited to just shout it from the rooftops when we can all buy it and cheer you on. Yeah. I wanted to tell you that I love you. And I think what's been interesting for me in this, just everything you guys said, I feel all the same ways. You know, I think that what has been interesting for me to look at within myself is the way in which I come to relationship from my training, from my programming, thinking that I have to perform, I have to do something in order to like make sure everybody's okay. And then I'm adding enough value in the relationship. And so what I've learned from all of you is that me just being me is the value. Like I don't have to have the right strategies or tell you all the right things in order to, you know, answer your questions. Sometimes I don't have the answer, but that doesn't make me not worthy of being part of our group. And what it's done for me is just opened that up. It's peeled the veil back to go, this is Mio, everybody. Many of you know him well. It's peeled the veil back for me to look at, not only just hear how I'm doing that with us in a group of women who are so open-hearted and so available to just like give and receive and both. And there's no like keeping score. It's shown me the relationships of my life. And that's been a big thing that I've brought forward to this group in a very vulnerable way, of the pain that I felt over the last, you know, year or so of my 2 years of my life, where there've been relationships that I thought were like my like ride or dies, and they weren't. And the grief that I felt from that, and the pain and the confusion and the inward, like the beating myself up. And then the like kind of where you go to this place and you start asking yourself these questions like, am I really like that? Am I bad? Like, am I not good? You know, like literally sitting with the complexity of those questions. And I'm willing to do that. You guys know that about me. I'm like, oh, there's fire to walk on and I will learn from it. Like, okay, can we have a baseline training on how to do that? Like, I'll do it. You know, I am here to get the lessons I'm here to get. But like definitely hard on a platter, like ripped out, you know, like confusion and that like canceling that happens in women friendships, and the pain of that, and still like sitting to this day, like still not really understanding that and having to reconcile it and having to like do all of the mental acrobatics and heart acrobatics to heal from that. And so knowing that I'm like, in a way was guarded and like afraid, and then being able to come into the space and say like, okay, well, this is what happened. This is part of my experience. And somehow I feel flawed because of it, but I also know that this is a pretty universal experience for us. And we were able to like really talk about it and work on it and look at it. And, but I think it makes so much sense when we talk about this, when so many, I'm like the zoo here, you guys, and all my animals. Like they're like, oh.
You talk about this, they like come to you. They're like, I got you.
Like, it's okay.
But since you just took a break, we're going back. I just want to ask the audience to say something and then we're going right back to you. Yeah. Can you type a 1 in the chat if you can relate to what Amber's saying about having been canceled by a close girlfriend? Because I have, and I know Heidi could share something about this, and it is so painful. Okay. And I just was wondering, I'm seeing some comments. Yeah. It doesn't get talked about enough, but I just wanted to highlight to see.
If you talk about it, then you're trying to be a victim, and then you could get attacked for it. Like,
yeah, there's some people saying that they get it. And the reason why I just wanted to take a highlighter out on it, and then I want to throw it back to you, Amber, is because we just talked about how to manifest like our goals and our dreams. And what are some of the ways that, let's look at a microcosm of like how you show up in your close friendships. Like I was saying, like, you know, here's me wanting to take on the world. And like with someone who was already my friend, going to Heidi's house before I go in her house going, okay, so what's she going to need from me? Oh, I'll just put all this other stuff aside so I can be this. And then if that's a microcosm, how we do one thing is how we do everything, right? Or if it, thank God it was you, right? But in the past, it's been like such a low level vibe of a friend, and then that person cancels you, and why are you even in that? And it's like, you can just learn so much from one little thing. It's like the way you are in your good friendships, the way you are with people who are treating you. And this is what we're talking about, Amber. And then it's like, oh, but that has nothing to do with me manifesting my business. That has nothing to do with the way that I want. Of course it does, right? Of course, what's underneath that? So
Yeah.
it seems like a lot of people are resonating with this. So keep going.
Well, yeah, I think, and here's the thing, like, we're not static. I'm not going to be the same person that I was a year ago, or even like 5 minutes ago. Like, I'm ever evolving. I'm always changing. I'm always growing. And sometimes that doesn't jive, with it moves too fast, right? It's like, it's threatening. And so, I think, again, it's not my job to do somebody else's work for them. But when you are raised as a child to parents, when you grew up with that pattern, codependency is a real thing, and you don't even realize how it presents in friendship relationships. And so I can see that now because I'm on the other side. My mentor, Rosemary Bradison, always says, what's familiar feels like truth. And so when I'm getting like, when I'm in a friendship and it's not a healthy friendship, it feels like truth to me because it's really familiar, because I've been in relationships like that with my family of origin in the past. And that was normal. Like that was my truth. And so then it's this weird thing, you guys, when you come into healthy friendships or people are like really upholding their side and they're like not throwing their shit in your yard and they're on their side, like they're handling their stuff. And you're like, I don't know how to do this. Like, do you not like me then if you're not, right? Like, it's just really interesting to go, whoa, I didn't even know that was a thing. And it's been beautiful because I have one friendship, my beloved friend, Rachel Camfield, and we've gone through like major seasons of evolution in our friendship. And one of our greatest gifts is like, look how we've weathered the waves of our friendship. Like, she's gone through all of her own personal things with her faith and stuff. And I weathered through that and the things that I was doing. And, we've hurt each other in ways we didn't mean to. And it's just like been beautiful. But the through line is our love for one another and our willingness to have those hard conversations and our willingness to come to the table and just be vulnerable together. And I think the more vulnerable, not in a way of like, hey, fix me, guys, but the more vulnerable I'm willing to come and say, like, this feels like it's broken in me. And I know that it's not, but I want to share this with you because I don't really know how to make sense of it. Like, that openness, willingness, vulnerability is a beautiful gift that you can give to friends. And I think that, I felt that here, and I just appreciate you guys and the friendships that I'm in now are, we've elevated and there are many from, years, and they've just grown and we've grown together. And that's been the gift of just continuing to do that. But it's like, I've had to stay on my track and stay in my work and do my deep stuff and look at like, ooh, tripwire. Oh, that one really, really hurt. And I feel like I want to just like run away. But instead of doing that, like, hey, stay here for a minute. Like, will you let yourself just be open? Will you let yourself be vulnerable? Like, you're going to survive this. And I think that has strengthened me in so many ways. And I've never felt more relaxed at being myself. And I don't want to effort at it anymore. Like, I just want to just show up and like, here's my heart. And this is the best that I've got. And I think it's really good. And I'm just going to stay with that. And if it doesn't fit for you, that's also okay. That's also okay.
You just blew something wide open for me, which I never, which is, you do that every time I talk to you, it seems, but I want everyone to hear this because you used a word, codependency.
Yeah.
Recovering codependency. And here's the thing is we really need to have that conversation more about what it is to be a codependent and how many people could benefit from going to Al-Anon or whatever, even if you didn't have an alcoholic necessarily, just the actual function of how it looks in the dance of being a codependent. Because when it comes down to it, you just made me realize that everything that people stumble around in building a business and being visible, it's codependency. But I don't want to shine a light in their eyes. Oh, I'll be too big. Oh, I want to make sure I'm responsible for their results. Oh, I want them to like me. I want this. And oh my God, if you peel back the layers, how much of that has to do from the trauma of having an alcoholic parent, an angry parent, a suicidal parent, a parent who left, a parent who, whatever it was, is like, I will take on making sure that this parent laughs, or I will take on the fact that this parent needs me to get straight A's so that they don't fly off the handle. I just heard Will Smith talking about like, the reason he's so funny is because his dad was violent. So he knew if he could keep his dad laughing, his mom wouldn't get hit that night. And it's like, he was talking about being codependent and not realizing what it means to be codependent, and then needing people to laugh, and then needing to, and what happens then? You lose yourself, right? You lose yourself completely because you're trying so hard to please other people. I used to think that codependent meant I needed other people too much. Like there was one definition. No, it just has to do with like me constantly deciding how I'm going to be or what I'm going to do based upon what I think someone else needs, wants, or feels. That is 100%. I was constant. And I feel like there should be a whole thing on discovering your message, your entrepreneurial journey, finding success through surrendering being a codependent, because so much of it seems to fall in that line. And you just helped me put that together. Heidi, do you want to say anything about what she's been talking about?
Gosh, I feel my whole body like shaking. I'm probably going to cry. These girls know I've been through it this year. I've been through it during, oh gosh, you guys, it's been intense for me through COVID. You know, this has been such a season of illumination. And I think the gift of this pandemic has been everything in our life has been heightened. So areas where we've felt challenges, it's gotten huge. And, there's been several friendships in my life, and I've had a really challenging relationship with my sister for some time. It's like it's needed to happen. The relationships have needed to come to closure and completion. And I wasn't available. Like I couldn't say no. There was just part of me that was like, but I want them to like feel better, and I'm willing to feel worse myself, and I'm willing to kind of shut down my light or not say things or not do this just so that that person can be okay. And so just through this 6 months, my experience is that I was holding such an intention for myself to rise up, to live from a different frequency, to impact more lives. My struggle has been, why don't people see me? Why aren't people hearing me? How do I get more numbers? How do I like have more visibility? How do I like, what's the funnel? What's the Facebook ad? It's just like, what is happening here? And the reality is that I wasn't fully showing up for myself, my audience, my thing, whatever. And you guys may not see this from the outside, but I wasn't because I was afraid. Well, what if that person feels bad? What if that person that's like the closest to me, my sister, these two friends, what if they feel bad if I continue having this level of success? And so I've just been freed. Like it's like by me setting the intention, Spirit did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And it's just become crystal clear. And I don't think that anything's ever final, you know? I think that people can come back, and if they don't, I've just really, really, really gotten that it's, you know how like when you're breaking up with a boyfriend or something, you're like, it's not you, it's me. Like my vibration has elevated. Like it's no longer a match. And it's not of service to any party to try and force it and like to force it into a match. And so with my sister for right now, we're not talking, you know, with these two friends that have been in my life for the longest time, we're not talking. And I've really come into acceptance of that. And furthermore, I actually feel like I've been freed. Like I can just show up now and just be in my joy. And know that that's inspiring people. And for those people that it triggers or whatever, like that's okay. You know, like they're not my person. So these women right here have been such a beautiful reflection of just, Heidi, you get to be in your light and you get to be joyful, and you're welcome here, and you're welcome to be all of that. So, thank you, ladies.
Can I share something?
That was so beautiful.
I love that. And I think even just this conversation, I remember the first group meeting, the group meeting, first time we got together, I had a headache. Remember that? I was like, I feel sick. I almost puked after, because it's like the vibration raises. And then you're like, I need a nap. All my stuff's coming up and out. And that happens every time you are around like-minded people who are going to hold you to it. And when you're really taking that stand for yourself. And I'm probably going to cry now, Heidi. So thank you. Pass the baton to everybody. I was talking with a friend yesterday, and I'm doing this little gratitude thing online right now. And I said, I'm doing a project, and what I was actually asking my friends was, if you were to send a gratitude message to someone, like, I just need a general one. And I started getting all of these messages back around me, and this one sent me a page and a page and a page. And her and I have had such a complex relationship, and we'll go a year without talking, and then we'll text back and forth. And it was like, I was triggered, because this is where I'm going to cry. She's like, I tried to get in your way, and you just held steady and firm, and you kept telling me to trust the process. You kept telling me to trust my process, like her process. And when I would get, too clingy or too close or too needy, you would be like, no, you got this, go do. And I just would not allow her into my bubble. She's like, I tried so hard to break you down. I tried so hard to get in your way. And she goes, I thought you were such a bitch. I thought I hated you. And then she said, but you were the only one who took a stand for me. You were the only one who believed in my ability to heal myself. And you never let me buy into my excuses. And you held firm. And I was angry when I read the text, and I showed it to my husband, and he's like, Heather, this is a compliment. And I said, but I'm so angry that I need to be this for everybody else, right? Why, when you're implementing boundaries and people don't like it, they get so angry and frustrated, and that by loving someone so much to the point that you are willing to sacrifice your own happiness by putting up a boundary, not because you want them cut out of your life, but because you believe that they can save themselves. And you're like, it's time, go, be, do. And this stuff is not comfortable. It is not comfortable. But when you can set yourself free and just get clear and know that, watching these patterns, we're headed into the holidays and we're feeling it coming, and this is a challenging year, looking at the challenge and yes, you're rising above the challenge, but going back to what Amber said about the bear story, what do we got to do?
Can't go over it. Can't go under it. Gotta
go through it.
How many of you here, I got to ask this question. How many of you here with me, and then also in this chat, have gotten the declarations or the confessions from other women saying, I have to tell you something. And I've learned, but I have to tell you something. I made you a villain. I made you bad. I was jealous. I was envious. I've had people hand me letters and photo lines to write me a letter of apology for all of the thoughts they've thought about me and projected at me. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful because they went through their own process and it's on their side of the fence. But I just want to say this to my friends. It's a lot. It's a lot to have to be told that regularly.
Yeah, don't tell us.
Just don't for being I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize for being myself. But I think if you can right now in your mind, think of a woman that you are jealous of, that you are envious of, that you've had judgments around. I'm going to ask you just to put your hand on your heart and to send her love and to just forgive yourself for that and to release her. And because that exercise right there sets you free to go towards what is yours. And what a blessing that she's on your path, because she's here to show you what's possible, not to hold you in bondage to the old stories that are not here to serve you anymore. So I just want us all to like, let's free all of those sisters on the path. Let's all do it together. All 70 of us that are watching, let's all just free the women that we have judged, the women that we have held in grievances, that we have had hatred toward, whatever. Just, can we just please free them all together? And in doing so, free ourselves at the same time.
Amen to that. And so beautiful. I was just thinking two things. One was that when Heidi and I were together at Joe Dispenza, we shared a lot and processed a lot and cried a lot. And at the end, she was sharing some of that exact piece with me. And I said, you're just like, hey, do you want to build a snowman? Like, I just want to be with you. I just want to be with you. You know, and it's like hard when you're like, come play, like there's snow and it's magic. And the person's like, no, there's not. It's only suffering over here. You're like, but come out. Like it's, I just want to be a snowman. And I'm like, and it's your sister. Like you just want to play with her and you don't even hate her. You love her. Like you're sad. You know, it's like in that movie, she just crosses heaven and earth for her. And she's like, leave me alone. Leave me alone. She's like, but come play with me. You know, so it's like, it's hard. And I just remember being that person, you know, in my childhood. And I was interviewing Tara Moore a couple of years ago for the podcast. And she talks about women playing bigger. And she said, you know, I don't know if I've ever said this, but I'm going to say it to you. She goes, I wrote this book and do my work. It's a love letter to my mom because my mom wouldn't. And I did. Right. And I remember moving out to LA, and my mom was always struggling with depression, and she was so locked into this like sadness and this victim story. And her life was, these were all the reasons why her life was taken from her and why it was so sad and why it was just so devastating all the time. And then when I remember going out to LA, I was like, I'm going to go out to LA. I went to audition for American Idol, you guys. And I was like, I'm going to go, or I'm going to try to sing, or, you know, that was the first clue. So I followed it, and she screamed and said, why would you go there? Nothing will happen for you. Something happens for people like us. We get left behind. And she was bawling. She's like, why would you even do that? It's so stupid. Nothing's going to happen for you there. You're so naive. You're so clueless. It's not going to be that way. And she got so angry. She slammed the door so hard that this picture on the wall shattered, fell on the ground. And she's like, then just go and never come back. And I was like, oh my God. And I was on the driveway. She threw all my stuff on the driveway. And I was like, oh my God, of course. Because me saying like, Mom, I see something. I feel something. I'm going to go after it. And like, I know it's there. It was like so threatening. It's like, but it didn't work that way for me. And if it worked that way for you, then I would have to own the fact that I chose to let my dream like walk away from me. And so it's like, it's so hard when you represent, you know, on the drive yesterday for my daughter's birthday, we were listening to Greatest Showman and Pink's version of A Million Dreams. And I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting there for me. Right. And she goes, and you can say that they can call me crazy. Right. And it's so hard to be the person who just sits in what you can design. I mean, think about Dr. King when he was 14 or 18 or 21. He's like, I see it. I can just see it. And everyone's like, you're crazy. Stop. You're going to get us killed. Like, shut your mouth. And he's like, I can see it. I can just feel it. Like, let me go. Like, I know it, you know? And it's like, to be that person and to hold that light that's not the easy path. And yet it's so worth it. And they do think you're crazy until they all say, I knew him. He lived near me. I talked to him. I this, I that. You're like, wow. But how long before you stop calling him crazy? And how long before like he stopped being the reason that you didn't have what you wanted because of what he represented. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And like, go back to what we just talked about codependency. How many of us, to whatever extent, had that as a dynamic with our parents, siblings, somebody? I mean, clearly all of us, if you're on this call, you've self-identified as like, you feel called towards the light. You want to bring it, you want to cultivate it, you want to be around it, right? And I watch Star Wars and I'm like, this is Kabbalah, this is mysticism, this is it. It's like, what are you choosing? What are you choosing, right? And to hold that frequency it's worth everything. And yet it can be a really lonely road. And so one of the sweetest things about this journey for me has been that, look who I wound up getting to be around, is like, you get there, there's a clearing in the woods and you go, you're here, you're just like me. I get to have this, you're not alone. And thank God. And so it's just such an important conversation, because at the end of the day, each generation, I think we're supposed to go a little further than the one before. And we do, though, I have to say, we tend to play to the lowest vibration. So instead of playing, even in my launches, I have to be reminded, don't do paint by number. Nobody's coming to you for a workbook. Please don't do that. Like, please don't play to the lowest vibration. Like, they can get that a million other places. Please just be available for the divine download and show up and hold space. Oh, right. That's what I can do that other people are not able to do. We play to the lowest vibration. And why would we do that? When you take 6 people and put them in a room and hook them up to fMRIs, they will actually ascend to match the highest vibration in the room. So just holding that light, that's the job. And so it's like, what are you going to need to do to make sure that you can stay there and trust? How many people does it take to get elevated? 1. And they're going to rise up, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You guys want to look in the chat, and if you're in the chat, maybe like ask questions or it's anything goes, it's whatever you feel like sharing or asking. I think we can just riff on that.
Mm. Mm. Thank you guys for your truth and vulnerability as always, and your holy tears, because they are.
I learned something about myself recently, I'll tell you, which Heidi, you all know this about me, but I just realized that I have this story, which is, because I do what we just talked about, then I have 2 modes. I'm either going to do it all the way and give of myself and create that persona where I don't need anything in return and I just take care because that's who that person needs me to be, or I'm going to leave, rather than just being there and saying, I'm standing here and I'm going to learn how to change the dynamic, because I'm not leaving and I'm not going to do the other thing either. And so I'm going to create an opportunity for us to connect in a different way and to receive and all of that. So I'm working on that in every way. I'm working on it with my team, working on it with people who work in my house, working on it with my friends, working on it in my marriage. And I just think that's an interesting topic, like looking at like what the extremes usually are for you, because usually the answer is not in there. And like, where's that middle path that you need to be walking, whether it's in your business or in your life, and looking at that reprogramming. That's my vulnerability. Truly. That's really where I am at. Do you guys want to go ahead?
So say Julie asked the question.
Yeah.
How do you go about showing up as authentic? This is so scary to me. And there's a lot of kind of questions about that.
Mm. I mean, I don't know what other way there is to show up. I think it's just so much more relaxing. Just be yourself, like people will say, one of the things people say to me the most when they meet me in real life, they're like not on a screen. They're like, you're so real. And I say, thank you. I appreciate that, but I also laugh at the same time because I don't really know what other way there is to be. And I think can we all just make a pact while we're all here together that we just show up as ourselves, like I'm a crazy cat lady. I live in New Hampshire on a lake. Like I could literally never go online ever again and just be barefoot in the woods. And I want to write books and, and also like, I also love this too. Right. So just, can we just do that? And I'll just share one thing strategically. That word is like so funny to me.
No.
I just decided like Instagram is the funny little world. And I think so I just started like creating these quote cards that are just the way that I feel in my soul and just what I want to say on a day. And I just started sharing them. And I'm like, I don't care if my entire Instagram feed is just those quote cards and they're the words of my heart, rather than like a selfie of me that's not feeling as resonant for me in this moment. I just want to write. And so I'm just letting myself do that and not like trying to follow someone else's like steps. And to me, I think that's what authenticity is. Like just sharing like what's inside the jar, not trying to read it from the inside and figure out, oh, is this the ingredients that's inside that I should have inside of me? Like just live it. So that's how I'm approaching that.
I also think that's a bigger conversation of like, are you living the life that you want to be living? Because if it's showing up in your friendships like that, like I'm not walking into a room being myself, what other areas of your life are you feel misaligned? And the easiest way for me when I got started, it was sometimes it's difficult to have a I want list or I desire list, but we all know what doesn't feel good. So write your shit list, write what doesn't feel good. And then what's the opposite of that? Right? Like, I don't want to, like, does it feel good when you put your clothes on in the morning? And if the answer is no, why? Why does it feel, are you fueling your body with stuff that makes you feel energized and alive? And if the answer is no, just remove one item, crowd it out. It's like crowding out your life and you feel it. But authenticity, I think, can be overwhelming for people. I mean, sometimes we're jumping into something like authentically, like you said, I would just like to be in a cabin in the woods and, just curl up in a ball with a warm cup of tea on a daily basis. But sometimes I got to take a shower and actually like do my hair, and both feel authentic to me. But it's really about, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And unlearning. We have to unlearn these things. We've been conditioned for decades and decades. So just having one little thing that makes you uncomfortable and pushing the envelope when you're in situations.
So I wanted to say two things. One, we're going to wrap up in the next like 9 minutes. We're going to take one more question because it's a juicy one. It's about like money mindset. And so I think that that's a fun one for all of us here. And the other thing I was going to say is at the very end, I'm going to give you guys a call to action, something really fun and simple. And then we'll pick a few of you who do it over the next couple days, and we'll show you how to do it in the Facebook thread, make it super simple. And we'll give you guys a little bundle of goodies. So stay tuned to the end for that. But let's tackle this last question about money mindset. And this is how she said it, Angie. I also have a lot of abundance money issues. It causes me to shrink back to a secure job. Did you face issues of this when you transition into being an entrepreneur? A lot of criticism can come around money. So does anyone feel like talking about that? Heidi, I know that's a subject for you.
Sure. I'll talk about it. I mean, I think that there's always it's never an either or. It's always a both and, meaning putting yourself out there, showing up, figuring out what is your ideal client, who do you want to be, what do you want to talk about, what's flowing naturally, what is the service, the gift, the offer that you want to put out in the world, right? Like all of that, it's not something that just happens overnight. So I'm not always on board when people are like, I quit everything and I left anything and I jumped ship and I took the leap and I'm going to just trust that XYZ is going to catch me. Like, we are still in 3D reality of time and space, and we need money flowing in order to pay our bills and our rent. And so it's like, let's be smart and conscious and make sure that we have basic needs met so that you are able to tap into the creative and are able to access a higher wisdom to go, what feels exciting. Because what I know is that none of us ever want to quit our job to go create another job for ourselves. When you're in the fear of where is the next client coming from, those people can smell that from miles away. So for you to be in this, like in this more connected place, in the creative place inside of yourself, and for some people, that's going to mean working 2 jobs or 1 job or doing this at night while they build the craft. I mean, that's what Kathy is like, that's what she does in Made to Do This. Like, that's what you do, is you support people in getting clarity on that and really staying in that place of, what I talk about, like the magnetism inside of yourself of being able to call that in with more ease. Like, that's what we're all going for, is more ease. And at the end of the day, the money conversation is really a conversation about self-worth and about an energetic exchange and about a willingness to receive, which is what we talked all day today about. And I just remember, like, when I was in real estate, commercial real estate for 12 years, and I would pound the pavement and I would call and I would do all these things. And at the end, like, the success that I had and the more that I had enjoyed it was an exact replication of the inner work that I did on myself. The more therapy I went to, the more high-level coaches, the more circles I came into, the more I started believing in myself more, the more I chose to hire, the more like a leverage, like all these other things that has created the level of success that I have in my life was a direct result from me going inward and doing this deeper conversation and not so much like, the strategy. So that's what I have to say about that.
I have to say about that the money is there. The clients are there. The people to buy your product, the people to buy your service, it's literally there. We're talking about 7 billion plus people. We're talking about almost 4 billion on the internet. We're talking about the stock market being an all-time high. We're talking about the fact that the people are there. The money is there and the clients are there, and people are looking constantly all day long to spend money and to buy the things that are going to solve their problems and make them feel good and help them find connection. And finding connection or entertainment is also solving a problem. And it really comes down to you saying, I'm not trying anymore. I'm doing this and I'm claiming it and I'm going to put it in the world. And just like that, Brian Grazer tells me, I didn't know the first thing about shooting a movie, but I was like, I went to Ron Howard's office. I'm like, I'm going to produce a movie. And he's like, who the heck are you? And why are you on the lot? And why are you in my office? He's like, do you want to do this thing? I'm a temp. I work in that office. I'm going to make a movie. You want to do it? And he walked into every office and he said, Kath, every office, every meeting was a startup. Apollo 13, Splash, A Beautiful Mind. It was a startup. I had to tell a good story and claim it and show them this vision of this whole new startup. It's like, it's there, even for something as hard to do as that, raising $40 million to create a blockbuster film, but you're doing it over and over. And Ian LePatin, Spiritual Gangster, he's like, you just literally walk completely through the door and then the doors behind you shut and boom, the gates to the next level just pop open because you claimed it. And that was a side hustle for him. He was an attorney who started teaching yoga and put on a hip hop song in the middle of his class. And one of his students goes, oh, I get it. You're a gangster, but you're a spiritual gangster. And he's like, I love that. And he put it on a t-shirt. And then the next thing you knew, 10 of those t-shirts sold out. The next thing you knew, he was like, what if I go all in on this? This is good. And next thing you knew, next Christmas later, 10 months later, he's in every Bloomingdale's, all the stores, everything else. So it's like, it's there. That's the first thing, is getting that it's there. And then it's going, like Heidi said, which one of these things do I want to go all in on? Which one of these things has an audience? And then it's like, take away the overwhelm and then choose one. Just pick one, the one that feels the easiest to start, the one that feels like your neighbor down the street wanted it. Go all in, because you can pivot and you can go tech to the next thing. But the idea that we don't do a thing or make the money is because we are not seeing that the clients and the money and the buyers are there. They are there. And when you show up and you walk into the room with, hey man, here I am, right? Matthew McConaughey said, his mom said to him, don't walk in like you want to buy the place. Walk in like you own that place. Like, how's it going? This is my place. Welcome. Pull up a seat. Let me give you a blanket. Want a cup of tea? I'm here. This is my space. Own your space and go for it. You can even pre-sell stuff. You can pre-sell a brooch that you made on Etsy. Just make a mock-up, see if they want it, go all in. Then you can make it. You can pre-sell the class. You can pre-sell the coaching, see what they want, then pivot, then make the brooch that they actually want in green, change the coaching program to be worded differently because it's how they talk about it, but they are there. And it's about what do they need from you? And boom, they're willing to give you little gift certificates called money in exchange for this awesome value. But you have to claim it and you have to know that they're there.
Boom. Mic drop.
There you go.
All right, there you have it. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. I know it was a long one, but I hope it gave you some insights. So again, I want you to head on over to Instagram. If you find me at Heather Chauvin _ I want you to send me a message letting me know what did you think of today's episode and today's podcast. Also, if you scroll in my feed, you're going to see more about those other ladies and be able to follow them as well. And either way, I just want you to know that you're not alone in the world. And when we create connection and cultivate sisterhood with each other, authentic, real relationships, the deeper we are willing to go within ourselves, the deeper we can go with other people. So if you feel so called, and whether you're listening to this on the Thursday or the Friday or another day, if it's still available, please, please, please go check it out. I'm begging you. I am actually begging you now. Half joking. But if you can head on over to heatherchauvin.com /payitforward. This is the gratitude gift giving opportunity. And we're doing that this holiday season. It's unique. It's $15 if you're sending to Canada or the US. It's $20 USD if you are sending to anywhere else in the world. This is about women helping women rise. And we also are donating a portion of the proceeds to a local treatment facility for women with addiction. And I just truly believe if we have the capacity and privilege, and we're going to be spending the money on people anyways, let's give with impact. And this also helps me, it gives back to the podcast. It's lighting a fire under my ass to, put more books out into the world, and make the magic happen. So just know that every single message that is sent does not go unnoticed, and I will be sharing on Instagram, so make sure you're following me over there. I'm going to be saying everybody's name. I may even do a podcast and read everybody's name. I don't know what I'm going to do, but my goal is to send 500 of these at minimum, and I'm hoping to reach that goal. It feels actually, to be honest with you, people are like, Heather, that's like nothing. That's nothing. I mean, ideally, I would love to, send 1,000. I would love for my hand to be so hurt and cramped and to ask all of my friends to help me out and really make this a big, big movement and to make shit tons of money for the House of Sophristine where we're donating to. I really just want us to come together as women. So I appreciate everything that you can do. heatherchauvin.com /payitforward. And thank you for being you. And I really hope you enjoyed this conversation.